Lovies, how much should the BBC pay them? The BBC has come under scrutiny recently from the newsprint media as it released the annual wages for its biggest stars. Some say it's just an excuse to make headlines or it's wage envy, while others see it as another horrible indictment against a publicly owned company. Some have criticised the wage gap between the male stars and the female stars, while others really don't care. If you're not from the UK, then you might not know that in the UK we have to pay a compulsory fee of £147 to view BBC content, so the BBC itself has no commercial breaks. In this video, I'm going to assess, are they worth the paycheck? Chris Evans, the highest earning presenter with £2.2 million per year. He's presented The One Show, The Breakfast Show, and controversially produced and directed Top Gear once Jeremy Clarkson left. In June 2016, however, it was reported that fellow presenter Matt LeBlanc had threatened to quit the show unless Evans was sacked because of inappropriate behaviour on set. He draws in a regular $9 million into his breakfast show on Radio 2, but the figure dropped by $400,000 after his failed Top Gear stint. It begs the question of whether he's just put into popular shows or whether he actually draws in that audience.
It's not exactly breaking news that people who do what I do for a living, compared to people in the real world, get paid too much money. You know, we've got jobs that people would kill for, but we get to do things that people would pay to do if they could afford it, and sometimes those things aren't even available to buy. Most of us work part-time anyway, so just pay us less. That's what I would do. It's not rocket science.
Gary Lineker. He earns $1.75 million. I mean, how else do you get a top footballer to come present a show? He caused controversy outside of his career by expressing strong political views and even attending protests against Donald Trump's Muslim ban, while working in what's supposed to be an impartial company. This angers many because he's part of the establishment media who have massive power over our opinions, but no power whatsoever over our trust. How can one rich man be affected in the same way that many poorer licence fee payers aren't? How dare he have an opinion at all, say some. Jeremy Vine is third on the list. I mean, sure, he's got some swanky graphics, which I envy a lot, but is this whiny voice really worth £700,000 per year? In 2015, even he caused controversy when he received a 5-figure sum for a post in a speech at a trade organisation that represents defence and security industries in the UK, and attended by global arms manufacturers. For many, it went ignored, but for some, it was yet another stab in the back to distrust the establishment in general. Takes until we get down to $450,000 per year until we see the first female on the list, Claudia Winkleman. She's only known for presenting just one main show per year. Although Strictly Come Dancing might be very popular, it's only on once per year. So why are all these people paid so much? Well, to explain, I'm using the analogy of farmers and windmills. Bear with me on this one. A windmill company will have to rent out the farmer's land to put its windmills there, but the farmer has to be willing. This leaves only a select number of farmers who will be willing to rent out their land to the windmill companies. So because there is a greater demand for windmills and less supply of farmers, the farmers can afford to charge more money to the windmill companies to rent out their land. So the select few farmers who are willing to rent out their land get rich. No one's suggesting there's a shortage of people who can read from a teleprompter or act, but there is greater demand for famous people than there is a supply. Famous people help draw in greater audiences. There's a wonderful article posted by the BBC, surprise surprise, which goes into why it's so difficult to find a new host for Radio 1. It basically says that you can't pick up a host from TV, as most youth-orientated people who pop up on TV tend to be reality TV stars. Kelly Osbourne only lasted 18 months. Dan and Phil from YouTube had a shot but only lasted 4 years, when they got tempted by larger amounts of money around America and Australia. Scott Mills and Chris Moyles both came from commercial radio, but in recent years, movement from one to the other has slowed. Then the best hope for Radio 1 is student radio, where Greg James came from. But the Radio 1 example just shows how the pay the talent receives isn't just an earning, but kind of a bribe to uphold audience figures with famous people. So there lies the problem. Do you risk audience figures by employing lesser well-known people, or do you ensure success and invest in proven talent? Whatever side of the argument you stand on, it's becoming clear now, commercial media and the government don't like the BBC and what it stands for. For that reason, it's likely to see big changes in the next few years. But what do you guys think? Do you want to see your favourite stars go, or do you care more about the quality of the content you watch? Let me know your opinion in the debate below and subscribe.